Emmy winner Rachel Maddow just celebrated the 11th anniversary of her show on our sister network, MSNBC. She is also a best-selling author out this week with a new and timely book. It's called Blowout: Corrupted Democracy, Rogue State Russia, and the Richest, Most Destructive Industry on Earth. Rachel, good morning. And on that happy note.
I know. It's kind of a light little, it's a chick lit kind of thing.
Beach read.
Yes.
No, I mean, well, we would expect no less from you. It is a very explosive topic.
Yeah.
But, no less an authority than In Style said, this is not an eat your vegetables read. It's about the oil and gas industry. Yeah. But you make it very entertaining and sassy.
It turns out there's funny things even in the worst stories on earth. And it turns out, I did not plan it this way, but I wrote a book kind of about like Russia and Ukraine and corruption and oil and gas. And now we've got, while it's coming out, the president being impeached for a thing about Ukraine involving Russia and oil and gas. I feel like I should be investigating.
Well, it's It's like, what did you know and when did you know it? Yeah. No, but it is interesting because the book is about the oil and gas industry. You did look into Ukraine and Russia and that relationship, the dynamic there, which, as you point out, that context is now intriguing in light of recent events.
Yeah.
Can you explain to folks so they do understand what this relationship between Ukraine and Russia is, why it is that the U.S. gives money to Ukraine?
Right.
How does that affect our national security?
So Russia invaded Ukraine, which was bad. That was the first time since World War II that another country in the range of Europe has taken another country, a piece of it, by force. And so we stood up for Ukraine and said that's a bad thing that Russia has done. The rest of the world did too. We sanctioned them for that. Russia ended up then getting kind of nutty. They've always been a little bit of an aggressive country in the world stage, but they started throwing all these wild pitches. That's why I ended up getting interested in this book. I was like, why is Russia behaving so strangely, so unlike other big countries in the world? It kind of turns out it's because they have no economy at all. All they've got is oil and gas. And it turns out that's a really bad thing to build your economy on.
And the book really lays out this thesis that there are several countries around the world that rise and fall on this issue of oil and gas.
Yeah.
You have a quote from a Saudi Arabian official saying, I wish we had discovered water.
Yeah.
I wish we didn't have these resources because they're a curse as much as a blessing.
Yeah, the founding energy minister of Saudi Arabia, think about a country that exists where its entire economy is oil and gas. He says he wishes it was water. The founder of OPEC says that he thinks of oil as the excrement of the devil.
Oh.
Right? So it's like there's this paradox where you get all this oil revenue if you've got oil in your country, but it ends up giving you a bad country and a weak rest of your economy. And in the case of Russia, it made them use oil and gas as a weapon against countries that it wanted to control, like Ukraine, which is in part what has now led to this impeachment.
Well, your thesis is that this threatens democracy itself.
Yeah.
That those are the stakes.
Yes.
Explain.
In countries where we've got oil and gas dominated economies, we end up getting oil and gas dominated governance, which sucks. And sort of the cure to that is when people stand up and use democracy in order to reclaim what works for them and what the country ought to be doing for itself. But where governance is really captured by oil and gas. And you see it in big countries and rich countries and poor countries all over the world. But it's not just Russia. It's small countries in Africa that I write about. It's state governments in the United States. Governance suffers. And the population of those places suffers. And so to the extent that that can be sort of pushed back, that people can assert democratic principles against those things, governance gets better and democracy thrives. I think we're also going to have to face it when it comes to the climate crisis.
Well, it's a page turner. It may be vegetables, but you serve it with a spoonful of sugar. But now you walked in here, I have to ask you, on crutches. Yeah. So what happened to your foot? And I hope there's a good story here.
I keep telling people you ought to see the other guy, which is usually enough. But honestly, what I did is it was 8 in the morning. I'm not a morning person. For me, this is still nighttime. And I was going fishing. I was getting on my friend's fishing boat, and I went to step from the dock down into the boat, and I just missed the step. I blame morning.
That's a fishy story. Is there any substance involved?
I tore all these ligaments. I have a fracture. I've been on crutches for 3 months. I haven't fished since.
No, it's terrible.
Ridiculous.
And you love fishing.
I know.
Which is,
I'm lost without it.
I didn't really see that about you. There you are in your fishing happiness.
And even ice fishing. Ice fishing is not a very happy-making thing. It makes me happier than anything on earth.
You recently had a New York Times profile, which was great. People should read it. You talked about how you're kind of a cross between the jock character in The Breakfast Club and the punk rocker character Ali Sheedy.
The antisocial girl.
Yeah, like this. So, like, you're their love child. Is that right?
Whoa, that was a vivid image.
Yes, it really was. I mean, I buy it. I buy it.
I mean, we've worked together. You know that I have a weird work ethic. Like, I really do kind of bury myself in a temple of paper, and I don't speak, and I kind of emerge once I've got
You're
my
like
little...
Carrie from Homeland.
It's a little weird.
Yeah.
I actually have a portrait of Carrie from Homeland right outside my office.
I rest my case. I rest my case. Rachel, it's good to see
It's
you.
great to see you,
Congrats
my
on the
friend.
book.
Thank you, Savannah.
Heal that foot so you can get back fishing.
Yeah, I will.
Catch her show weeknights on MSNBC. For more on the book, you can go to today.com/shop.